Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos and on this video this morning I am going to be giving you an update on some more transfer news like I have been doing on a regular basis, because it isn't long now until the January transfer window does open. Obviously, I've been updating you on a regular basis regarding Erling Halland from Red Bull Salzburg, because obviously we have been relentlessly linked with him. He is one of my main priority targets. And I think, according to recent reports, Erling Haaland's transfer to Manchester United in January is looking very, very imminent indeed. It says, we are confident of signing Erling Haaland in January for around £76 million. But reportedly, we will have to loan him back to Red Bull Salzburg for the remainder of the season. As you all know, I was reading their reports yesterday, and it did allegedly say that Erling Haaland had boarded a plane to Manchester from Norway. So obviously, that had fueled more speculation. Obviously, Solskjaer had reacted to that, and he's actually denied that Erling Haaland was on his way to Manchester. Solskjaer actually said he's on a Christmas holiday, so he doesn't believe he took the route to Manchester. Obviously, last Friday, not Friday, yesterday, Friday before that, Solskjaer had flew to Austria with Ed Woodward, to discuss, a potential transfer with Erling Haaland. So basically, Solskjaer had met up with him. But, there's been a number of clubs that have attracted their interest in the player. There hasn't only been us for him. Also Juventus have expressed their interest. Borussia Dortmund, Red Bull Leipzig, and according to Fabrizio Romano recently, he said, that all them teams have placed their bids in for him. I think also he had signed the Manchester United shirt. Had Erling Haaland. But I think he actually, told Solskjaer, that he's keen on joining Man United. According to Solskjaer, he did say that he has made a decision on his future. Reportedly, we may have to pay his agent Mini Raiola around around £12 million, sorry, if we are to recommend him in to the football club. I don't think his agent Mini Raiola is keen on his client joining Manchester United, but I think it would be very beneficial for us to recommend Erling Haaland in. He's a prolific goal scorer. He's been a revelation this season for Red Bull Salzburg. And I think if he comes to Manchester United, he can replicate what he's done with Red Bull Salzburg. He scored 28 goals in 22 games in all competitions this season for Red Bull Salzburg. And I think also the beneficial thing about recommending him in is that, he knows Solskjaer, because he has played under Mulligan and Solskjaer's guidance during his period with Mould. And as you all know, Solskjaer is keen on a reunion with the player. He's a player, that can score goals. He's a player that can bring more players into play. And if Erling Haaland did come in, I think, I would be excited about the prospect of him, playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Daniel James, Anthony Martial, and he's only the age of 19. And Solskjaer, of course, is still keen on recruiting young players into the football club, like he did do during the summer. At this present time, at the moment, we have got a lot of young players in the squad that are developing and trying to improve. Yeah. So that's what it said yesterday. He was apparently pictured with his dad on the boarding a plane to Manchester in that. But Solskjaer has denied these suggestions. So he's actually played down reports and that. But Solskjaer is an admirer of the player. He said he likes him a lot and that, and he knows the difference he would make at Manchester United anywhere. So that's the latest news regarding Erling Haaland. But there hasn't only been him on our agenda. There's been a lot of other players on our agenda. But I did say next year it's very imperative, that we do recruit the right calibre players to Manchester United. to get us back to being a competitive elite level football club and get us back, up there challenging for major honours. And next year we've got to address the deficiencies in the squad, because I think, I've got element of concerns about that midfield. Even McTominay and Fred, have done well. Especially Fred, he's rejuvenated himself recently and they've complemented each other well. We've got to address that midfield. Even though when Paul Pogba gets back, it will be beneficial. But whether Paul Pogba stays or goes or not, that midfield area is one of the priority areas where we do need to strengthen up. I think we need an attacking midfielder. We also need a defensive midfielder. We need a couple of strikers. We need a right winger. There's possibly other areas in the squad as well that do need to be addressed. But I can definitely know sure that Solskjaer will be here in January. I presume he will be here at the end of the season and that. We do know for the vast majority of this season, Solskjaer has been under intense pressure at the football club, reflecting on our disastrous start to the season. But obviously, with the wins against like Tottenham and Man City, obviously, they saved his managerial tenure at the football club, because if we hadn't have won any of them games, I presume he would have been sacked now by Manchester United. But I'm very sceptical, that we will sack Solskjaer anywhere. I think our board are determined to back him, at least in the next couple of windows. They're going to see who else he can recommend in to the football club, because, like I've said on numerous occasions, analysing the vast majority of this team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. At this present time, there's only 3 players there that are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, and the 3 players, that he did recommend into the football club during this summer. Obviously, we spent nearly £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire, and they've all enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United careers, and they're not accountable for any of our bad results or our bad performances this season. The vast majority of this team is actually Jose Mourinho's, because Jose Mourinho recommended 11 players into the football club. Taking into account Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of them. Solskjaer still inheriting players here from the Van Gaal era. There's still matter here from the David Moyes era. And there's still around 3 players here from the Alex Ferguson era. So we'll see who we can recommend into the football club next year. I think he's going to get a spending spree of around £250 million, to rebuild the club. To rebuild the club, and I think £250 million, should be enough for us, to get the right number of players in and that. It's basically dependent on how we are with our recruitment. We're going to be sensible with it. How we are going to overpay for players, and obviously, I'm still Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out, as you all know. Quite a few Manchester United fans are still Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out. Obviously, reflect on the wins against Tottenham, City, and all that. And obviously, with a win against Alkmaar and Colchester, and, with us obviously, in general, being unbeaten in our last 6 games in all competitions, a lot of Manchester United fans' perceptions, would have changed regarding Solskjaer, but I said a good couple of results, doesn't change my perception. But obviously, himself, Ed Woodward, and the vast majority of our players, their perceptions are totally comparison to mine and quite a few other Manchester United fans, because obviously they're willing to back him. Ed Woodward is determined to stand by him. The players are willing to keep faith in him. Like I said, the board are willing to back him. But I probably can assure that he will not see out his 3-year contract at the football club. Obviously, if we decided to sack Solskjaer any time within this 3-year period, then obviously we'd have to pay something in compensation to get rid of him. But obviously, not all of the blame stems from Solskjaer with our for our bad start to the season. That he's not accountable for all of it. He's accountable for some of it. I think some of the players are to blame. I think, the board are to blame as well. I think the vast majority of the blame stems from the board because, they've been a liability for several years. I think also, a lot of the blame stems from Ed Woodward, and I think, we need to see a variety of changes at Manchester United, definitely. But I can't wait, like I said, until the January transfer window does open. I don't only think, we need to see more incomings. I think, we also need to focus on we need to focus on more outgoings in that, because he's still definitely more players that need to leave Manchester United. I know around 6 or 7 have left. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. They all left during the course of the summer, but these still problematic players at Manchester United and that. Ashley Young, I think he's definitely one of the problematic players, and I think he's going to be leaving Manchester United at the end of the season, because recent reports did say we will release Ashley Young at the end of the season when his current contract does expire. Young's been a long-serving player at Manchester United. He's now into his 9th season at the football club. He's enjoyed 8 years here. Young has made 259 appearances in all competitions since his arrival from Aston Villa back in 2011. Obviously, he's no longer my first choice right back. It's total comparison to last season, because last season he was my first choice right back. But obviously, Wan-Bissaka has established himself as our first choice right back under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So obviously, he's our preference over Ashley Young. Young has actually still played quite a few games this season, but obviously now he has initially lost his place in the team. We shouldn't have given him that new 1-year extension last season. I don't think it's been revealed yet. What next club he could be possibly going to, but I think we're going to move Ashley Young on at the end of the season, because he's past his sell-by date at the football club. 34 years of age, 35 next year. He's predominantly a right back, but he can play in various positions, so his versatility is good. Don't forget, when he was younger, he was primarily a right winger. He can play as a left winger, he can play as a left back, like he has done quite a few times for Man United and that. But yeah, I think Matic is another one of the problematic players. I think we've also got to move him on. Obviously he was our first choice midfielder last season. Obviously it's totally comparison this season, because he isn't now our first choice. He's initially lost his place in the team, reflecting on his bad performances. And of course, as you all know, Matic has been out for a couple of months anyway with injury. Well, he was out for a couple of months, should I say, with injury. He was out with a groin problem, but obviously just recently recovered from that groin problem, but he was out for over 2 months. I think Matic is another player that Man United overpaid for. We paid around £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. And analysing the vast majority of his career with Man United, he's been mainly inconsistent, and now he's into his 3rd season at the football club. Too predictable, too slow, makes that midfielder look totally imbalanced, and doesn't complement our midfield whatsoever. So if we could, so it would be beneficial if we could try and cash in for him in January. But obviously, if he was to leave at the end of the season, then obviously it would be on a free, because Matic's current contract does expire at the end of the season. Obviously, there were some people saying maybe we should move Jesse Lingard earlier on in the season, that because he wasn't performing to the standards as we should expect of him. But I wouldn't get rid of Jesse Lingard. I do believe he's a long-term solution for Man United. Don't forget, I know he was poor early on the season, and don't forget though he sustained a few injuries this season not too long ago. He did recover from a knock, but I think recently he's definitely nowhere rejuvenated himself. So I would definitely keep Jesse Lingard at Man United. I did say, didn't I? I think Paul Pogba will leave the football club next year, as I do keep saying. But obviously, Solskjaer, he's been ruthless regarding Paul Pogba, and he's basically made it clear that he will not be sold in January. Paul Pogba's agent Mini Raiola has come out and said that Paul Pogba wants to stay at Manchester United, and that this is what his agent Mini Raiola said, and he said he wants to win prizes, but he does believe that the club needs to support Paul Pogba more. So actually, Paul Pogba could be staying at the football club in January. If he doesn't go to Madrid in January or leaves the football club, I think he'll probably go next summer. If he doesn't go next summer, he will go at some point in his future. I'm very sceptical that Pogba, will, spend the entirety of his career from now on, at Manchester United. I don't see that happening. Paul Pogba hasn't played for the vast majority of the season, due to injury. He was out with an ankle injury for over 3 months. He hasn't played since September as Pogba. The last league game he did play was the 1-1 draw with Arsenal earlier on in the season. That's the last league game he did play. Obviously, it revealed early on this week that Paul Pogba, had illness. An illness occurred. I think this was like a few days after he attended his brother's wedding in France. And yeah, but I think Solskjaer, he's confirmed in his press conference recently, building up to the Watford game, that, Paul Pogba is back in training, but he hasn't been training for long. But it did confirm he was expected to return to training anywhere this week. So I presume that Paul Pogba, could be back for the game against Newcastle on Boxing Day, or the game against Burnley, but he's not going to be playing against Watford tomorrow. But Solskjaer again, admired Paul Pogba. He said, he's a fantastic player. He has a charismatic, personality in that, and he's aware of the difference he does make in that midfield and that. Real Madrid were relentlessly linked with him, for the entirety of the summer transfer window and that. And Paul Pogba did reveal at the beginning of the summer that he was seeking for a new challenge and that. This is what he said. Publicly admitted that he wanted to leave the football club, but I think the stumbling block of Paul Pogba's move to Madrid during the summer was, reflecting on the substantial amount we put on him, because I think we was demanding, around 150 million, 160 million pounds. Real Madrid were reluctant to pay that. I know there was also rumours about him possibly making a return back to Turin, because before he joined Man United, he enjoyed 4 good years in Turin with Juventus, but I think the vast majority of his performances at Man United have been totally comparison, to his ones at Turin. I think we mainly saw the best of Pogba in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. But yeah, so Pogba, has around 18 months left on his current contract with the club. Obviously we have an option to extend his contract by a further year, and he is on around 290 grand a week. Pogba is 26 years of age, so he's still in his prime. He's still got a lot of development in him. So far he's made a total of 148 appearances in all competitions and scored 31 goals since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. But I think, with Paul, while Paul Pogba's been absent, I've got to say, I think, Fred has fulfilled his position really, really well, and that, like I said earlier on in the video, him and McTominay have blended very, very well together in our midfield. I don't know, if they are the long-term solutions for Man United and that, and if they can keep the consistency up though, then maybe they can emulate into 2 Glasgow midfielders, can Fred and McTominay, Again, I do agree, that we overpaid for Fred. We paid, £50 million in from Shakhtar Donetsk in the summer of 2018. This is what we paid. And yeah, we did overpay for him because, he hasn't really exceeded expectations at Man United, and he hasn't performed to the standards as we should expect of him, and he hasn't really replicated, what he did do with Shakhtar Donetsk, because analysing him at Shakhtar Donetsk, he was an exceptional player. But I would still give, Fred more time at the football club, definitely. I would. Obviously, like I said, we do have to win tomorrow against Watford, at Vicarage Road. We are looking to extend our unbeaten run, you know, because we're unbeaten, like I said, in our last six games at the moment. I am pretty confident going into the Watford game. I'm pretty confident going into the game in that because, like I said, Watford have endured really a difficult start to the season. And, Watford, of course, are fighting relegation. Watford, of course, are fighting relegation. That, they are sitting bottom of the league at the moment. They've only registered 9 points from 17 games. They've only won one game all season so far. Watford, of course, have just recently, appointed their third manager in of the season, Nigel Pearson, because obviously, Sanchez Flores got sacked after less than 3 months in charge. But like I say, Watford were very unlucky against Liverpool last week. They only lost by 2 goals to 0. There was a lot of periods in that game where Watford really dominated. They had a lot of decent opportunities, but obviously, couldn't take them. And yeah, so I think, I'm confident going into the game, but I think it's obviously, going to be a tough game as well, because obviously, Watford are aware that they need to start, getting points on the board. Like I said, we've got a really good record against Watford. Obviously, there's in the Premier League era, there's been a total of 12 encounters. We've won 11 out of 12. Watford only won the once back in September 2016. They beat us by 3 goals to 1 at Vicarage Road. The fixture was 2-1 last season at Vicarage Road and Old Trafford. But they have got some good attacking players of Watford. They've got Troy Deeney. I think he's been injured. They've got Dale Fail. They've got Decore. They've got Will Hughes. I think they've got Cleverly, who used to play for us. Obviously, they've got Danny Welbeck. So Watford have got quite a few decent players in their team, don't forget. Obviously, as it stands at the moment, the Premier League table, we sixth in the Premier League, after 17 games, and we've registered 25 points from 17 games. Obviously, we're only 4 points now behind top four, so you can definitely say we are still in that top four race. I know I fully disregarded the top four around 3 or 4 weeks ago because it looked like we're out of it, but now we're all of a sudden we are back in it because Chelsea have slipped up in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we can get that top four. And Chelsea play Tottenham on Sunday. It's after they play after we play Watford. So if we beat Watford, we could be just 1 point behind top four by the time Chelsea kick off against Tottenham. I did initially say though, didn't I? That it's very important that we get that top four there this season, so we can of course get into the Champions League and that. But when you're in Champions League football, you do attract players to the elite level. So there's two routes we can get to getting Champions League football secured, and that's either getting in the top four, if not that, winning the Europa League. And I think we are definitely good enough to win the Europa League, and that we did it back under the Jose Mourinho era back in 2017. We beat Ajax by 2 goals to 0 in the final. And don't forget, we're also into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. After we beat Colchester midweek by 3 goals to 0. What the performance wasn't so good in the first half of that game, and that there was quite a lot of issues. But I thought we definitely resolve those issues in the second half. In the second half, the performance was totally comparison, to the first half performance. But we did, we got the job done, which was good, and we've got Man City in the semi-final. But I think the Carabao Cup for us is a priority because I think it could be our only chance of winning any silverware this season. I think it's very imperative that we get some silverware on the board. And Solskjaer, was recently, discussing the importance of us lifting trophies because, we haven't won a lot of trophies in the last 6 or 7 years. But like I said, I think there's also a chance we can win the Europa League. There's also a chance, where we can't do that. And, obviously, Solskjaer will make a variety of changes in the game against Watford, from the 3-0 win against Colchester. Solskjaer rested quite a few key players against Colchester anyway. He rested quite a few key players, Bissaka was rested, Lindelof was rested, McTominay and Fred were rested, Daniel James were rested. So I think, they're all set to play in the game against Watford. And Watford is the 39th. This Watford is going to be Solskjaer's 39th Premier League game in charge of the football club. Solskjaer, of course, now has been at Manchester United a year. He is now into his second year as Manchester United manager. Don't forget, a couple of days ago, it was Solskjaer's 1 year anniversary at Man United, and I presume that he did celebrate his 1 year anniversary, and that, he gave his overarching view on it. He said it's gone very, very quick. He did say it's been very, very enjoyable. This is what Solskjaer said, and I think I've got to say that I think he's got many expectations to exceed in his second year at the football club. So he's been obviously permanent manager for around 9 months. Obviously, for the vast majority of that 9-month period, everything has all seemed to have all gone wrong. Totally comparison, to when he was the interim manager, because he did really, really well in that 3-month period. Did Solskjaer, when he was the interim manager, because he got the best out of his group of players. He exceeded expectations. The results were good, the performances were good. And my perceptions were different then regarding Solskjaer. And I think one of the mistakes we did obviously make was obviously giving him the job on a permanent basis. Like I said, he's been permanent manager since March. So we'll see, who else we can recommend into the football club. Like I said, some aspects of me, credit Solskjaer. I've also, got some element of concern about him. I think Solskjaer's got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players. All of them have been given their chances this season, so I credit him for that. And I think there's a lot of young players that will become a success at the football club. I think Greenwood will do well, Brandon Williams will do well, Tuanzebe will do well. But I think, it would be beneficial if we could move some of the young upcoming players on next year, because obviously I've got some element of concerns about some of them. I think, in some games, he's tactically got it spot on as Solskjaer, which I credit him for. And he was a great player for the football club for 11 years and that. And this is what I said on my recent videos. Whether Solskjaer's managerial tenure at Man United works out or not, we'll never forget what he has done for the football club. We'll never ever forget that. But my element of concern about him is that, he hasn't, got any intuition on how to manage Manchester United. He hasn't got any intuition how to manage it all, because he hasn't got that, managerial experience, not really to the highest level and that. But it's totally comparison, to a player, because he's got that proven pedigree as a player. Solskjaer doesn't really have a style of play. He doesn't really have a plan B, so you can say that's also an element of concern. You can definitely say that. But if we got rid of him now, it wouldn't really solve a lot of problems at the football club. He's inheriting a good squad, like I said, because there's a lot of good players in our squad. Look at the amount of money that's been invested into the football club in all the managerial eras since the Ferguson era. Not only that, we've also got players on big contracts, but I think, I've seen, I think some aspects of our game have improved recently in that, we're creating more chances, we're scoring more goals, certain players have stepped up to the plate, which is good. Rashford's in scintillating form, 14 goals this season for him so far. Martial in the games he's played in this season, he's done well. He adds more inspiration in that attacking third of the pitch, James has enjoyed a good start to his career with Man U. Lingard's rejuvenated himself recently. I think Maguire, you can say, has addressed our defensive deficiencies. And Wan-Bissaka has done well at right back. So there has been a lot of good individual performances, and but there's still some players that are not performing well. Lindelof's been below par recently, Andrews Pereira, I think's also, you know, being very, very poor. There's a lot of Manchester United fans now demanding him out of the football club. Yeah, so the main part of this video, guys, was to give you the latest news regarding Erling Haaland, and according to reports, his transfer to Man United in January is very, very imminent, but Solskjaer has denied that. Yesterday he was on his way to Manchester and all that. So yeah. So guys, there will be more videos coming up very, very soon. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.